Good evening and welcome back. We took a short break. This is the Thursday night Bible Quest. We're glad you're able to join us. And if you are watching us on, you can listen to it through a podcast, through any podcast service, but you can also watch the recording on our YouTube channel. And you can put comments there. And we've had a couple of people coming back with comments from our YouTube channel. But I also want to invite you to go to BibleQuest.org at any time, and there you can see previous recordings and previous programs, but also where you can use the contact form to let us know if you want us to talk about a particular topic. We invite you to communicate with us. Or as you see, our email addresses are up there on the screen. You should be able to see them, and you can just drop us a line. We'll address your emails, your questions, and your comments. I want to say hi. Kenny, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Hey, Carl, good to see you. How are you doing?
Doing very good. Good to see you guys.
Great. Hey, I just got to say, I want to thank Kenny for that BibleQuest.org logo. That's our new logo. Did a good job there, Kenny. I added the photograph for it, but we might play around with different photographs. But that's our new logo right now. Thanks, Kenny, for doing a great job. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about, I forgot what I actually called the title. I don't even know if we do titles, but tonight, let me just look over here on my notes. Oh, yeah. What does anybody do with the evidence? And I'm referring to evidence found in the universe about creation, or is it evolution? In fact, I did a whole series called Creation versus Evolution. I've got I think it's a six-part series. And it's a very interesting discussion, obviously. We talked in the last program about the evidence and things like that. I recommend people follow the science. Mm-hmm. Science does not contradict the Bible. Science is in harmony with the Bible. Wouldn't you say that, guys?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One thing I like to point out is that science is just an observation. We're observing what God has done. That's the basis of it. Science is not creation. Science is not making the things. It's observing the things. And we need to remember that limitation.
Well, you bring that up. And who invented science? God did. Maybe that's not the right way to say it. When he said when he created man, he wanted man to rule and have dominion over the earth. Wasn't that telling man, you got to know what it is, you got to study it, you got to understand it, you got to explore it, or else you don't, how can you have dominion over it if you don't know what it is?
Right.
So I think science was really ordained, for lack of a better word, by God. That's my opinion. But when you look at the rules and the laws of the universe, science talks about evolution, but it's really theories. Evolution is a theory. They're trying to say it's fact. Don't they say that in school, Kenny? That's a fact?
More. I mean, it's taught. You don't hear creation taught. Evolution is taught, and many kids think that. Certainly, they think it's fact because they don't know any different. It's no different than somebody studying that says they're a Christian, but they can't give you a Bible verse. They just take what they heard and they go with it. It's no different. It's a kid hears that. They don't take it any further and investigate for themselves. They just think it's fact.
Yeah, I'm originally from Kentucky, and I remember when they were building the Creation Museum, and the news blurb was, there's a new museum that's going to open up that is dangerous for children. And so, of course, I waited to hear about this new museum, and they said it's dangerous because it takes the facts of evolution out and offers another possibility, the theory of creation. That's what the news headline was, and I could not believe it that they were saying that, but that's what it was.
Here's my suggestion to anyone that's listening, and to all of us, is that if someone says the facts of evolution, ask them what facts. But what are the facts? There are no facts. It's just theory based on observations, and there's theory. But there's always two sides. There's two opposing theories. One is in evolution, and one is in creation. And both sides are theories in a sense because no one was there when it came into being.
And what we
No one's
have is
sure.
evidence. What we have is evidence and interpretation of evidence. So the evidences themselves are factual. They exist. What we do with those is interpretive. And which way does the evidence most lean? I think is what we have to come to.
There's the key. Which model does the evidence support better?
Yeah.
I'll give you some examples. There are evolutionary scientists and creation scientists that say that there's certain scientific facts that how did they say? I know what it was. They said, who was it that said? I think it was Richard Hawkins. I'm not sure if it was him or Stephen Hawkins. It was Stephen Hawkins that said, the universe seems to have been fine-tuned.
Mm-hmm.
And what they mean by that, and this is evolutionary scientists that say that, they say that there are so many coincidences, although they don't use, they use coincidences now more than the word chance, that the coincidences that there are so many things that have come together in order for life to exist. Without these things, we'll talk about a few in a minute, life could not exist. So therefore they're saying the universe was fine-tuned. But if you think about what's that?
Absolutely, I agree with that thought.
Yeah, and I say the same thing. The universe. So the question is, who fine-tuned it?
Right.
In other words, was it just a bunch of rocks that came together and decided, well, we know human beings will be needed sometime in the millions of years in the future, so we're going to do these things? And I'll give you some examples. The Earth, as we know, is roughly 93 million miles away from the sun, right? And I was reading in this one of the science articles that if it was, let me explain it this way: the Earth is rotating around this sun, right, at 93 million miles away. So as it's traveling through space, Earth, it's not traveling on a straight line. If it was traveling on a straight line, it wouldn't be going around the sun. And so they calculated that the Earth is actually moving off of a straight line by 1/9 of an inch every 18 miles. Can you see 1/9 of an inch 18 miles out? No, it's very minor, right? But here's what they were saying. If the Earth was moving off of that straight line by 1/8 of an inch, it would be so close to the sun, we'd be cooked. Wouldn't contain life. On the other hand, if it was moving off of that straight line 1/10 of an inch, it would be so far away from the sun, everything be frozen. We're talking a 10% change in how much our Earth rotates around the sun. Life could not exist. That's one thing. Then they talked about the atmosphere. Is that just the right density? Is that the right word? Density, that it allows or it prevents meteors from entering the Earth at such a rate that it would destroy everything. But it's at the right density where we can breathe it. If it was any thicker, we couldn't breathe it. And so there's another one. I'll give you one more, then I'll make the point. How much of the Earth is covered with water? They say, was it 4/5 of the Earth is water? So it's mostly water, right? What would happen if the oceans weren't at that level? It was a lot. Let's say it was less than that. Well, I didn't know this until I was reading the science. Where does our oxygen come from? Vegetation, right? It's either 80%. I wish I had these slides up. It was either 80% or 90% of our oxygen comes from the vegetation in the oceans. So if it was a lot less water, we'd have less vegetation, we'd be a lot less oxygen. And the other thing is that because of that water relationship, and the atmosphere, that water, it's constantly evaporating, right? And then it forms and becomes dense, and then it drops back down to the earth, and it's going through a cycle that keeps the water levels of fresh water for us perfect, but it also acts as an air conditioning unit to keep the temperature in a range that's viable for life, for our life. There's so many, and I just mentioned 3. The moon is just at the right distance from the earth. If it was any closer, we'd have floods unbelievable. It wouldn't work. So the evolutionary scientists, they say the universe was fine-tuned in order for life to come. Now I have a quote, and because I'm saying it, but I want you to read I'm going to read the quote from John Gribben. He's an English science writer and astronomer. He's an atheist, and he wrote this in a book called "The Origins of Man and the Universe." It was not from 1981, so this goes back a few years. But I want to share my screen because I don't want to say that he didn't say this. I want to read exactly what he said. Just give me a second here, and we're going to show the screen right there. Okay, he said our form of life depends in delicate and subtle ways on several apparent coincidences in the fundamental laws of nature which make the universe tick. Without those coincidences, we would not be here to puzzle over the problem of their existence. What does this mean? Well, one possibility is that the universe we know is a highly improbable accident. Just one of those things. Now, that's one probability, and that's the possibility that atheists take. You and I, guys, we take the other possibility. It was designed this way, and it was created. But I want to show you he wrote a book, and let's see if I have that. I think it's the next slide. Hold on a second. And this is I don't know if it was the title or the subtitle of the book. Oh, wait a minute. No, these are some of the coincidences he talked about. This is out of his book. Exactly the right distance from the sun, the right distance from the moon, just the right tilt. I didn't bring that up, but the tilt is just right. There's so many consequences if it wasn't. The right mass for the gravity, just the right atmosphere. I did mention that. Yeah, that's from his, it was an article in Science Digest in 1983. And here's what he called it. Earth lucky break.
It's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. I mean, if you had so many coincidences in so many other areas of life, you wouldn't call it luck. You would call it intention, design, purpose.
Right. And any other thing with science, they would say that. But then they have no problem making a statement like that. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh man is right. Exactly. And so that's why I'm saying, in fact, our last episode, Carl, you said you didn't have enough faith. We don't have enough faith to be an atheist. You got to have a lot of faith to believe in evolution.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a faith. And if someone's in our audience and say, no, it's not a faith, bring on the facts. Give us the evidence. Give us, because we'll talk about it. If you have evidence that evolution is not a theory, we're after the truth. So I want to hear it. Maybe not tonight. Yeah, we'll do it another time. Hold that thought, Kenny. But I just want to add, what about the fossil record? Well, there's a lot of evidence in the fossils that indicate creation. And we'll talk about that. We'll save that for another time. What were we going to say, Kenny?
I found 3 questions that I thought were not only humorous, but just true, like just logical thinking. Is it easier to believe that God created the world or that some cosmic explosion did? Is it more logical that an intelligent creator designed all life or that life emerged from non-living slime? Does the complex design of the universe point to a designer, or is it a fluke result of random events? Just simple, basic.
Takes a lot of faith to
questions.
answer those in the negative, right?
Right. Man, I don't know.
if you're an atheist and you're an evolutionist, and I used to believe in evolution, so I'm speaking from this as evidence that you have to believe that a living organism came out of non-living matter.
Right.
And then you also have to believe that non-living matter, in other words, rocks and dirt, came into existence from nothing on its own.
Nothing.
Or you have to say, no, matter is eternal. Oops. There's some scientific laws that prove matter is not eternal. Do you know which ones those are?
Thermodynamics is the great one.
The law of thermodynamics. Yeah. Matter is not eternal. Matter is wearing down, and it has. In fact, I have a quote. I have a video of an astronomer, famous astronomer, Jastrow. I forget his first name, and he's an agnostic, and he struggles. He wrote a book, because in the book he's saying, it just doesn't make sense. The science is proving that the universe had a beginning. Mm-hmm. That's what science says, and then he says. And if that's the case, then how did it begin? That kind of points to the theologian who says that God created in the beginning. And I'm struggling with that, because I'm a materialist, he says. I'm a materialist. I can't accept that. And I don't have an answer for it. Jastrow. Robert Jastrow, if anyone do a Google search on him, and you can look up those things that he said. There's a great video out there. Maybe I'll bring on the video next time when we continue some of the topics on this subject of him struggling. Why it's just fantastic. Remind me on this one. The self replicating organism. Mm-hmm. I forgot what it's called. Pelagia. I wasn't prepared to bring up all of these things, but I'll go ahead and bring them up in another program. And there's so much science that just says, no, it had to be designed. Right. Therefore, there's a designer.
Is that Romans 1:20? Is that for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Right, the evidence for his existence and his role as creator. There's no excuse for disbelief. Yeah. Kind of what he's getting at.
The Bible itself uses the argument from design as the chief argument that there is a designer. I think it's fascinating. Yeah. John chapter 1 points to Jesus' deity by saying he was eternal and he was the creator of all things. Therefore, he must be God. That's really how John chapter 1 begins. Yeah. So yes, the Bible uses the evidence of creation to prove there is a creator, and that's the supreme argument.
That is both those passages. I'm glad you brought them up. Okay, so that's what we wanted to talk a little bit about tonight. Maybe we'll spend some more time on that in upcoming programs. If you're in the audience and you want us to go into certain areas, deeper areas with these things, let us know. Go to BibleQuest.org and let us know what's on your mind. Or you can also leave comments there in the comment box if you're watching this on YouTube. Were you going to say something, Kenny? I didn't know if I was going to interrupt you on that.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining in tonight, and I look forward to the next time we are together.
Me too. Thank you.
You both have a great evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.